So now we're going to change how this emission animates on. Right now it's just always on, but if we select both of these materials and add a patch for the emission, the screen pinch starts at 1 and then goes to 0. So with that, we can pull in this texture, and if we want it to start invisible, the emission to be invisible, we can subtract this 1 from this texture, and that should leave us with nothing. But then as we scale towards 0, we'll be subtracting eventually 0, and that should make this go back to normal. So let's add a subtract patch and subtract that 1 value, and then throw this in both of these. And as you can see, everything got really dark, and that's because we're subtracting from this black an additional 1. So black is basically already at 0. So by subtracting 1 more from 0, we're kind of in the negatives at this point. So to come out of the negatives, let's use a clamp, and that will force all the values to go between 0 and 1. It'll basically pull or push them to fit in here. So now these are looking back to normal. And as we pinch, hopefully we start to see the emission come back. And when we're all the way in the middle, this value is basically 0, and so we're at full emission. And the intensity of the shaking is kind of bugging me, so let's just go through what I was talking about earlier. We just need to change these values as we pinch. So let's make some more room. And we'll take this scale value and multiply it by this value here. And because it's a vector 3, we want to make sure we're set to vector 3. So these two values will be 0, and this will be the same value we have set, well, not for this first one. Same value we have set for both of these. So this will be for the start value. And then I'll just duplicate this for all of these values. Now that's interesting. It is all piped into the same one. I don't know if that should be happening, but we're going to reconnect those anyway. So let's just do that now just so we can see where we're at. Okay, well, it didn't disconnect those, so let's select those and just hit delete. And yeah, if you didn't know, if you select a wire and hit delete, it'll just delete it. Okay, let's make sure we're doing good here. So we have the progress coming from the left, and then, oh, there's an extra one. Okay. Now each of these just has one wire going into it. Now we just need to match these values. So we have negative 0.02 and then positive 0.02. This one is in the Y. Okay, this is a little nicer now. So if you kind of got lost there, all I did was take this screen pinch and then multiply it by the values that we want down here, which across the board is just negative and positive 0.02, and just make sure it's negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive in the X, Y, and Z. And then those are just into these transition patches. So when we start, all these values are 1 because we're still at a scale of 1. And as we pinch in, we're multiplying by a smaller and smaller number. So the translation here is a lot less. So when we get really small, it's shaking quickly, but it's not moving around as much. So it's not as sporadic. And this definitely is functionally a lot better. You can actually see what's going on. So now we have both the translation and the emission affected by this pinch, which is a pretty cool effect. And it looks like you can pinch out as well. So maybe we need to fix that. in this screen pinch, we can add a clamp like we did earlier. And this will prevent us from scaling in and out too far. Unfortunately, I need to reconnect all of these. So let's just do that really quick. Okay, so I replaced the screen pinch with this clamp. So all of these connections now come out of the clamp. So even if I pinch out, you can see this is now 100, but it's not affecting it because it's clamped to only go between 0 and 1. So now that fixes that issue, but we can still pinch in, and I don't think we can go below 0 either way. So now we're totally fixed there. Now up next, we're going to add some particles to this.